You might work here on Wall Street. I'm standing in front of the New York Stock Exchange, and I'm right across from Federal Hall. This is actually where George Washington took his first oath of office when he became the first president of the United States. And you're wondering, Jeff, what does this have to do with the suburbs of New York City? Well, what if I said if you worked here or in the lower Manhattan area, you could actually take a ferry ride to a gated community that's on the New York City waterfront in 20 minutes. Pretty good offer, right? Well, that's what we're gonna get into in this video. I'm gonna reveal this private, secluded neighborhood in just a few minutes, but let's get into the video and learn more. All right, so now we're in New Jersey. We're actually in Liberte State Park, and we just hopped over through the magic of YouTube. You didn't know it, but that little spot right there is actually something out of Star Trek. That could mean, just kidding. Anyways, we're on the other side. We're in Liberte State Park. Now, you might remember our video from Jersey City that started just across the river there. And I hope the microphone's catching everything because there's a lot of helicopters and stuff in the background. Not too bad of wind today, but this is the Morris Basin, which we talked about before. And on the other side here is Liberte State Park. Now, the neighborhood that I'm gonna tell you about soon is just about a 17-minute bike ride from here. And it's called Port Liberte. Now, if you haven't heard of Port Liberte, I'm gonna get into lots of details in this video. But what I thought we'd do, instead of taking the ferry to Port Liberte, we're gonna take the ferry from Port Liberte over to Wall Street where we started the video, and stick around to the end of the video so I can show you all that detail and what that trip is like. The boat goes really fast, so that's a lot of fun. The other thing that I want you to do, wait until the end, because we're gonna talk about real estate prices for Port Liberte so you get an idea of what it costs to live there, specifically purchasing. Hey, if this is your first visit to the channel and you're looking to learn all about the New Jersey suburbs of New York City and hotspots here like Jersey City right behind me, then please consider joining our Subs of NYC community. You know what to do with the buttons down below. My name's Jeff Massey. I'm a local realtor here in the area, Midtown Direct and otherwise, and I'd love to help you, be a resource for you on the ground here in New Jersey. And if you're looking at purchase in the next 7 days or 7 months, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email so we can help you make an easy, stress-free purchase. All right, so like I said, we're here in Liberte State Park, and right behind me is the Empty Sky Memorial. This was built just after, about a year after 9/11. And if you look down the barrel of the sculpture, it faces right towards where the Twin Towers stood. Now, there were 750 New Jersey residents that unfortunately were victims of this historic and absolutely tragic event. And today we're almost at the 22nd anniversary. I'm filming this just a couple weeks after 9/11. So it's very heartfelt location, and a lot of New Jersey residents and also New York City residents come here to remember this day and what happened. Of course, we'll never forget that moment. I was in college when it happened, all the way in Rhode Island, and I remember seeing the smoke that would come from here and go all the way east over to Nantucket and Cape Cod. Really, really tragic event, and we're never gonna forget that moment. So this is a place, like I said, a special place for people to come and remember. Now, what we're gonna do is travel down. I'm gonna do like sort of a time-lapse video from my bike so you can see all the cool little hotspots. If you're gonna live in Port Liberte, you could ride your bike over to Jersey City and then take the path, but we're gonna talk about some other transit options you do have once we get over there, and I'll give you some of the numbers. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Before we start our bike ride down to Port Liberte, I wanted to stop here at the Central Railroad of New Jersey. Now, this is a historic building that the National Park for the ticket office to go over to the Statue of Liberty. But it's an interesting place in terms of the history of the suburbs of New York City, because in this location you had many different train lines terminating here. What would happen is people would cross from there over to here and get on ferries that would take them into the city, much like we're going to do at the end of the video. But this is sort of the historic version of that. I'll show you some of the historic train tracks behind this building that are terminating. They're trying to raise money to repair a lot of those because it is in disrepair. But it's just a beautiful historic building, just a plain brick building with these gorgeous barrel vaults of brick. Would have been a very grand place to arrive and then go over to the city. You can imagine jumping on a boat. And you can see all the little details. There's a clock industry, agriculture, science, and commerce right up there in the clock. Very beautiful details and craftsmanship at this location. Okay, let's keep going. We've got a lot of stops to make. The next stop on our tour here is, of course, Ellis Island. Now, we just rode all the way down from the beginning of Liberte State Park where they had the memorial, and you can see actually there's a car driving across this bridge here. This is an access bridge for the police and emergency vehicles, service vehicles, to get onto Ellis Island. And of course you can take the ferry just from where we started right down there at the Central Railroad Depot. And of course, beautiful views here. One of the great amenities of living in Port Liberte are the views, and you'll see once we get down further into the town. But I just wanted to show you, of course, this stop, and then of course the Statue of Liberty. Now, we are behind the Statue of Liberty, but still amazing views of the harbor. You've got beautiful boats out there like the Arabella, and just city views are spectacular. So let's keep going. We're almost there, I promise. We've got a couple more stops, so let's keep going. So we're down at the southernmost point here in Liberte State Park, and I just wanted to highlight the fact that, of course, we're right near the Statue of Liberty. I'll show you some close-up footage of there, and right down, of course, this beautiful view. Now, at this point, you can start to see Port Liberte out there in the distance behind me, and I thought this would be a cool place to talk about transit, because I did mention the best part at the end. You're going to have this 20-minute ferry ride, which starts out on the other side of Port Liberte from here. Starts going around here. When it hits right about where you see the Verrazano Bridge there, that's where they really open it up, and it goes very fast in front of the Statue of Liberty. And then when it gets out into the middle there, it has to slow down. We actually hit the Staten Island Ferry, and the wake was really bouncy. But anyways, that's where you start to slow down into the main part of the harbor. It actually goes around to Wall Street. It's a Pier 11 right at Wall Street. And then right before the Brooklyn Bridge, that's where the pier is there. I'll show you that. And then it's about a 5-minute walk up the hill to the main part of Wall Street. If you work down there, or if you work in World Trade Center area or downtown in general, this could be a really cool commute. And you'll see once we get down there just how cool it is to live on the waterfront. Matter of fact, there's a canoer coming right behind me, or a kayak. But it's really exciting. Those ferries run from 6:40 in the morning to 10 a.m. That's your last ferry in the morning, and then the same, they have afternoon rides back. Those are $8 each way. Now, if you buy a 10-trip pass, that's $7.45 per ticket. The other option you can do is a monthly pass for $271.50. That's going to give you unlimited back and forth. The other option is to take the shuttle from Port Liberte and go all the way over to Grove Street Station, where you can jump on the path. Now, that they sell for $60. You get 20 tickets, so it's about $3 per ticket, and it takes you downtown to Jersey City. That could be fun to go out for lunch or to dinner as well. We'll talk about food options a little later. Now, the other thing you could do is ride your bike like we're doing here, taking the bike path. Now, this would be more of a scenic tour. It would take more time. There would be a more direct path behind the park, sort of on the western edge of the park, that you could go straight through to get down to Jersey City quicker and take the path from there. So this is the southernmost tip. Really cool. You can do some kayaking and other stuff. Now, I was joking, you could actually take a helicopter if you remember at our next stop, which is Liberty National Golf Course. There's tons of helicopters here. It's a little bit of a joke, obviously, but they did build a helipad over there. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's go over. Here we are at Liberty National. We're almost to Port Liberte. I promise we're almost there, but I just thought I'd tell you about this golf course. This is spectacular. It's right on the waterfront, 18 holes, of course, par 72. This was designed, now this is the clubhouse right behind me. It goes along the Hudson River Walkway. And the course itself, I forget who the architect of the clubhouse was. I'll have to look that up and put it down in the description. But the course architect was Robert E. Cupp and Tom Kite. Tom Kite being a very famous PGA player back in the day. Now, this course is famous for hosting the Northern Trust as well as the President's Cup in 2017. Northern Trust, I think they've been here a few times. They also recently held the LPGA, I'm gonna mess up this name, Mizuho America's Open. That was very recent. Now, this is obviously a private course, very expensive to join. It says on Wikipedia that actually Justin Timberlake, Eli Manning, Mark Wahlberg are all members. So that's interesting. I wonder maybe if this is one of their yachts over here. You also from here have the private members get the Liberty National Ferry, which takes you downtown. So if you're a big Wall Street guy or girl, and you work downtown, you can actually take the ferry over here, which is pretty cool. A little bit of stats on the course. Cameron Smith actually holds the course record at 60. That was back in 2021. It's 7,300 yards from the back tees. Let's see, the course rating according to Wikipedia is 77.7 and the slope is 155. So that's a little bit about Liberty National Golf Club right behind me. And like I said, it's on the way to Port Liberte. We finally arrived here at Port Liberte. This is the northernmost section. We're walking towards the waterfront. I'll show you some of that in a minute. But I thought I'd start with some history about this location. So the site was actually built on an area that was known as the Hancock House. And this is all from Wikipedia, so you can look it up. It's said to have been the site of a visit by General Marquis de Lafayette. Now, you remember from Morristown, Marquis de Lafayette also visited George Washington in that location. But the Marquis was here to spy on the British who were at that point in time inhabiting New York City. And coincidentally, Wall Street, where we started, was the actual northernmost part of the city at that point in terms of the wall. That's why they called it Wall Street. But anyways, a little bit of a history lesson there. Here we are at Port Liberte. Let's get into a little bit more of the details on the actual construction. I'm standing in one of the gazebos now. That is part, again, we're in the northernmost section. We'll move south so you can see the rest soon. But this particular area was designed by a French architect, and I'm gonna butcher his name here, but here we go. His name was Francois Spoerre. I think it's how you say it, Spoerre, S-P-O-E-R-R-E. He was the inventor of a concept called soft architecture. And this is something that predates new urbanism, which you'll see flares of new urbanism as I show you B-roll of the area. And what that, interestingly enough, was sort of based on an earlier development he did, a resort in Saint-Tropez called Port Grimond. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'm using my little French knowledge to sort of interpret a little bit. Now, Port Liberte was a reimagination of that earlier resort that he did at Port Grimond, and this is what we're about to see how it turned out. Moving a little further south, I'm sort of right in the middle of the area, the neighborhood, if you will. Now, it was supposed to be started in the 1980s, and they actually did break ground. The plan was to include 2,200 residential units, over 245 boat slips in a marina, as well as canal slips, which you'll see some here like this. There was also supposed to be a hotel and an office building, but due to the financial crisis in the 1980s, a lot of that was scrapped and the project actually did go bankrupt. There were actually 37 townhouses built and about 365 units at that time. Now, fast forward to the early 2000s, the project was picked back up out of bankruptcy. The canal plan was abandoned. What you're seeing here is actually just one canal that was part of the original area. You've got Half Moon Isle there in the middle. And what they ended up doing was completing phases 1 and 2 on top of the original. That was a mix of apartments and townhouses. We'll talk about real estate in a little bit, but this is the beautiful canal. I'll show you some B-roll of me riding down the canal. This is all part of the Hudson River Waterfront Walkway, and you have this amazing amenity that's to the public. Once you cross over the fence, obviously that's private land, but you do have that as a nice amenity. And this goes all the way up to Jersey City. You could practically ride your bike to the George Washington Bridge all the way at the top of the area there. So gorgeous area. You can see some homes are being renovated. This is sort of on the other side there, is sort of the older section. And then as you go more north, there's a little bit of the newer section. One more thing to talk about while we're down here is amenities here at Port Liberte. And we're starting off right behind us is the pool at the point. This is one of two pools in the area. The other one is more north by the tennis courts. And speaking of which, there are tennis courts. There's also basketball courts, a gym, playground, a dog run, and of course, like I said, the Hudson River Walkway is here. Lots of things to do, and of course, if you like boats, there's plenty of boats. You could try and rent a slip from some of the owners. Some of these are owned by the houses that they're in front of. Others you can rent from the area. But just a really interesting area and something very different in terms of New York City living. I mean, look, that's 20 minutes away to Wall Street. All right, let's keep going and check out a little bit more. Over here, right at the southernmost point of Port Liberte, right behind me, this is Felina Steakhouse. Now, this is probably your only real on-site food accommodation. It's an Italian steakhouse. They open at night, so it's not really a lunch option, more of a dinner option. In terms of other places nearby, you've got, of course, Liberty House, which is down in Liberty State Park, and of course, Jersey City, which you can take the shuttle or drive over there to experience some of their really nice restaurants. If you haven't seen our Jersey City video, definitely check it out. I'll link it down below. Now, in terms of shopping and stuff like that, you're probably gonna head over to Bayonne. That's a closer drive. Over there, you've got places like Costco, Stop and Shop, Walmart, CVS. There's also a Lowe's Hardware. Obviously, that's not food, but just in terms of amenities as far as shopping and so on. And of course, you do have downtown Bayonne. There's lots of great restaurants and shops over there. And again, not too far. And right behind me, you can see the view. Again, views galore here at Port Liberte. And the restaurant views must be amazing. I have to go there sometime. I haven't checked it out yet. But again, it's only for dinner. Talking real estate here in Port Liberte, you have a variety of options because some of these older buildings that you see in the background, you've got some one bedrooms in there, as well as newer townhomes that surround this canal area. You can see over there Half Moon Isle, which I mentioned earlier. There's a little bridge that gets you over there. There's a group, an enclave surrounding that circle of townhomes. And then throughout the area, you have a mix of 1 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. You'll also see where we were before, there's a beautiful array of townhomes that face onto the New York City skyline. I'll talk about those in a second. So in terms of 1 bedrooms in the last sort of 12 months between actives and solds, you're gonna see a range of low 300s to high 300s for 1 bedrooms. In terms of 2 bedrooms, we're talking high 300s to high 600s. And in terms of 3 bedrooms, you're looking at high 500s all the way up to over $1 million in terms of those really beautiful duplex units. Now, it really does depend on the condition and age of the home. You'll see a very wide spectrum there. The waterfront townhomes are exceptionally gorgeous with those super nice views. And those are gonna range in terms of value from about 1.5 all the way up to $3 million, depending on the size. Just spectacular views right out your front windows onto the harbor. You've got Brooklyn, Governor's Island, obviously downtown Manhattan, Statue of Liberty views, downtown Jersey City. The views are just endless. It's amazing here. And then the other cool thing is you got all the boat traffic going by. So there's always something to watch. Lots of helicopters in terms of tourist helicopters, Staten Island Ferry. There's just tons of things to check out from your front window on that waterfront view. As promised, we're gonna finish off our tour here in Port Liberte with a ferry ride into the city. This is the area where you would approach the ferry, you get your tickets here, right behind me, and we're right across the street from one of the main entrances to phase 1 and 2. And from here, like I said, it's a 20-minute boat ride, and it's very pleasant. It gets actually pretty fast. You're gonna really like it. Let's jump inside and take a tour. That's gonna do it for me though. I'm gonna let you enjoy the finishing product there. Once again, my name's Jeff Massey. Thank you for letting me into your home today, and I hope together we can help find your next one. In the meantime, we'll see you in the next video.